And as usual, I forgot to turn on the lights, so I'm going to have to turn those on, my little background lighting. There we go. And so we're going to talk about spending money on wristwatches, 18-karat gold wristwatches, on stunning spring drive divers. We're going to talk about Rolexes, and we're going to talk about Bitcoin. All of these cool things. Let me find the broadcast here on my iPad so I can keep an eye on you all's comments. Give you all a second to get in the house. So it's Saturday here in these United States still. Here on my iPad. So there we go. Adams is in first. Evening, Craig. Scott, nice tie. Well, there you go. It's a Solka and Company tie. Brian's in the house, looking sharp Saturday evening. There you go. Durr's in the house. Hello there. Hello. So one of the reasons why we're going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin is one of my subscribers has recently purchased some Bitcoin, and he's going to purchase some more. And I said that I'm not buying again until it gets down to about $1,250. I think that's going to be the bottom of this bear market that we're currently in. Of course, I have plenty of Bitcoin, so I don't really have to buy any right now. And he's just starting out, so he wanted to secure some now just in case it doesn't take another dip down, and then when it takes another dip down, he's going to back up the truck and buy more. So that's probably a good plan. That's not a bad plan. So, of course, I don't give financial advice. Let me preface all this by that. I just talk about what I do, and if folks want to do that, then that's on them. I don't recommend investing in anything until you have all your debts paid off, of course. And I include a house in that. I like to be totally debt-free. So I think everything should be paid off. But that's easy for me to say. If I didn't have any Bitcoin at all, would I buy some even if I had some debt right now? I might. I might. Just because I would hate to not have any Bitcoin. I wouldn't like to be in that position, because it might just be the solution to all the world's financial problems. It might solve a lot of problems. It might get rid of a lot of corruption. Think about a money supply that cannot be controlled by any government, that cannot be controlled by big banks. I think that's kind of cool. Just noticed my side view camera is not in focus. I'm going to switch to the spring driver, and then I'm going to go and refocus that other camera. Okay. All right, the side view is now in focus. You can see there's some specks of dust on it. And I don't have my light, my special light on it, so it's kind of shadowed there, but you can still see that beautifully engraved crown. So here's the thing. Let's see here. How does one go about purchasing Bitcoin? Oh, Durr's asking an interesting question there. I will go ahead and put a link in the video description that you can use to purchase some Bitcoin. And you actually will get a reward. I think if you purchase a certain amount, you'll get like an extra $10 or something if you use this link. So I'll put a special link in there. And this is for Coinbase. So this is not necessarily for all countries. There are what is called exchanges, and that's where you go, is to an exchange to purchase, or you can purchase from an individual, but that can be risky depending on whether or not you know them or not. So I'm getting that link right now, and I will put it in the description if I can do this. See if I can do this. Okay, so I'm going to the video now. I think it'll let me edit it even though the stream is live. This will be an interesting experiment. Okay, edit. Let's see what happens here. Might just crash the whole live stream. So I'm going to say to buy Bitcoin. Use, and I'm going to put the link in here. Okay, save changes. Okay, so if that worked, there should be now a link in the description of this video where you can go to buy Bitcoin. Okay, looking at that baby sweep, yeah, that spring drive is freaking amazing. Let's see here. I'd like to know how to purchase Bitcoin as well. Scott, what country are you in? Let me know what country you're in if you ask that question. It's very true. It isn't subject to the same level of inflation that U.S. dollar is, which can vary wildly based on printing, etc. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. And when I first heard about Bitcoin, I dismissed it out of hand, and most people do. And that's a common reaction. And I heard about Bitcoin in around 2012, and I said, well, you know, if it's just created on a computer, I mean, then anybody can create it, and it's not scarce, right? So I just kind of dismissed it out of hand. And then around 2013, I took a closer look at it, and I said, oh my gosh. I said, this could be bigger than the internet itself. This could be the next big thing. We're always looking for the next big thing. So I took a close look at Bitcoin, and I said, this could be it. And yeah, so Scott, you can use the link I just put in the description. Craig, when are you and Archie going to do a video? As soon as he invites me, I'll be happy to come on his channel. He won't come on my channel, but I'd be happy to go on his channel. I haven't been invited. So here's the real quick reason why Bitcoin is unique. And don't confuse Bitcoin with what we call altcoins, all the other wannabe cryptocurrencies out there, none of which are truly distributed the way Bitcoin is. Here's the unique thing about Bitcoin. There literally is nobody in charge. There's nobody that the government can go to and pressure and say, we want you to do this. It is totally decentralized. It's distributed all around the world. There are nodes, and there are the miners distributed all around the world that keep the system going, and the system has been extremely robust for 10 years. It has never been hacked. Don't confuse an exchange being hacked with Bitcoin being hacked. If you give me your Bitcoin to hold on to, and I let somebody steal it from me, that's not Bitcoin being hacked, that's me being hacked, okay? But if you have your Bitcoin properly secured, I use a hardware wallet, I use a Trezor hardware wallet. If you have it properly secured, the Bitcoin blockchain has not been hacked in 10 years, and the best and brightest have tried, trust me, there's a lot of money at stake. So it is extremely robust, the system, and the system cannot be controlled or manipulated by any entity. And this is probably the coolest thing about it, the total amount of Bitcoin that will be produced is 21 million Bitcoin, period, full stop. Now, a fair number of those Bitcoin have been lost. People have lost access to their Bitcoin because they've forgotten their private keys, their password, if you will. They cannot no longer access the Bitcoin. And some people have lost huge amounts of Bitcoin that are worth a lot of money today. They threw away a computer and the Bitcoin was basically on the computer and they didn't have their recovery seed and all. And so basically they lost their Bitcoin. So by most estimates, 15 or 16 million will be the amount that will actually be in circulation once they've all been produced. And it's going to be, I don't know, 2040, 2050, 2060 when they're all done being produced. So it's going to be a very limited commodity. With, let's use the number 15 million in existence. Just to give you some perspective, there are 32 million millionaires in the world, 32 million of them. And if there's only 15 million Bitcoin, that means the millionaires, each millionaire, can't even own one whole Bitcoin. That's a pretty scarce resource. So you've got something that's extremely robust. You've got something where I can send something of value, a Bitcoin, anywhere in the world within seconds, just like email. I can send that Bitcoin, and nobody can do anything about it. Nobody can stop it. Nobody can intercept it. Nobody can edit it. Nobody can reverse the transaction. It's like cash. It's like me giving somebody cash and them going away with the cash. But it's electronic and can go anywhere in the world. That is pretty amazing. If you just full stop, just think about that, how amazing that is. It's like text messaging money to somebody. For pennies, it's very cheap to do, very fast, and extremely secure, robust. That is pretty amazing. Okay, so I've purchased pre-1933 gold coins in the past, but haven't got into Bitcoins yet. Our Wags is in the house. Nice. I know that if you have gold, I would at least get one Bitcoin, just so you can say you've got a Bitcoin. Nice. We have a show today. There you go. Craig, here's a beautiful watch for you. Great for with a suit. Check it out. Grupo, some strange name, Titanium. Craig, how many different cameras do you have in your setup to shoot all those angles, and what kind of cameras are they? Right now I've got 3 cameras hooked up. So camera 1 is the Sony A6500, and that has a Sony Zeiss lens on it. That's got the 24mm f1.8 lens on it. I think I've got it at f4 right now. It's focused right on this microphone, so the depth of field is, I'm totally in focus pretty much at f4 at this distance. Camera 2 is my RX100, Sony RX100. Has the 1-inch sensor in it, Sony sensor. That's as close as I can macro focus with it. Camera 3 is my Panasonic FZ1000. That's a really good value, that camera. It's extremely versatile, not expensive, and that also has the 1-inch Sony sensor in it. And that is also at the closest that you can macro focus. I couldn't get any closer to that watch than that with that particular camera. It's about, the lens in the front of the lens, I'm looking at it right now, is probably about 3 inches or so away from the watch. So that's the setup. And the 4th input on my switcher is the laptop. And one thing interesting about Bitcoin that I want to bring up is let's see if I can get this. Shoot. There we go. All right. So one interesting thing about Bitcoin is this is a perfect example of a use case for Bitcoin. Sarah's show that you know about is Monday nights at 10 p.m., Cowgirls Live. And one way that she's raising funds to help continue to do the show and to buy more camera gear and so on is she takes Bitcoin donations. So she's got her Bitcoin address, and you can see there's a QR code. Folks can just scan that QR code with their Bitcoin wallet. And I'll tell you what wallet to get here in a minute to have one on your phone. It's convenient to have a Bitcoin wallet on your phone. And so you could just send her some Bitcoin. So let's say you sent her like 0.001 Bitcoin. That'd be like $7, you know, something like that. Whatever the exchange rate is now, you know. You can send a fraction of a Bitcoin. That's kind of cool. And you can send a message along with it when you send it, like, hey, you got a great show, keep up the good work, whatever. And so it's what's neat about this is there's no middlemen, there's nobody taking a cut. It's a very small minor fee to do the transaction. Let's say you sent her $7. It would probably cost 7 cents to do it, to send it, right? So it's cheaper than a credit card fee. Nobody can mess with it. Nobody can censor it, right? Nobody can say, well, we don't like what that person says, so you can't send them money. Like some voices are being silenced, and now Patreon is removing some accounts and things like that, you know, because they don't like what people are saying. Can't do that with Bitcoin. Can't mess with it. It's math. It's regulated by math. It's exact. It doesn't care what you think. It doesn't care what I think. It doesn't care what anybody's think. It just is. It just does what it does. It just moves money around from one person to another based on what I want to do with my money, with my Bitcoin, not based on what somebody else wants me to do. I think that's pretty cool. Okay. Name of the watch is ridiculously long. Yeah, I would pass on all the no-name watches, folks. Craig, if you could have 3 currently made modern Rolexes to use in rotation, which ones would you choose? I definitely would do the Pepsi GMT. That they've softened that maxi case enough to where I think it's acceptable. I mean, it's not ugly like the maxi case on the sub. Pepsi would be one. 3 watches, okay. Probably a Day-Date 36, not the 40, probably a 36, so to have something small enough to use for dress purposes. I think the 40 might be a little bit too large to force into this kind of situation. So a Day-Date 36 in yellow gold. And then a third watch. Really, you wouldn't need a third watch, but if you wanted to have a third watch, maybe something to beat around that you really didn't care as much about, maybe an older Explorer, like an older Explorer 1 or an older Datejust in steel, an all steel with an engine turn bezel, maybe something like that to use as a beater. That is close focus, not macro. Well, if you read the manual, they're referring to it as macro, but whatever you want to say. Archie's live show or train wreck, I don't know. Now people can watch that stuff for hours plus. I know that watch wins the ugliest I've ever seen. Okay. My main problem with GS is that you pay the same price as for a Rolex, but you do not get the same prestige. No, you don't really pay the same price. I paid $3,200 for this 18-karat gold dress watch that's on my wrist. It's a beautiful watch. Go to my Flickr and look at the photos of it. It's a stunner. $3,200. Try to buy a solid 18-karat gold Rolex for that. I paid just over $5,000 for this stunner, this Grand Seiko spring drive stunner. In titanium, much more accurate than a Rolex by all accounts, will run longer without service because of the way because it in effect does not have an escapement, so there's less wear and tear. So it'll probably run 30 or 40 years without a service. A lot of good things to say about that watch right there, and it's significantly less expensive than a Rolex. So no, you don't pay the same amount. Because you can get a discount on the GS. You can't get a discount on the Rolex, and a lot of the GSs start out, the list prices are less. Okay, I already read that one. I didn't realize you get a partial Bitcoin. Yeah, it's divisible down to 8 digits, 0.000000001, 8 digits. So it's very divisible. And it has to be, so let me tell you why. If Bitcoin, and that is an if it's widely adopted worldwide, just because it's so limited in number, the value of it is going to have to go sky high. Supply and demand, folks. Supply and demand. So by most estimates, if it's fully adopted around the world, if it really becomes a worldwide currency, which it could do, it'll probably be worth about $1 million each Bitcoin. One Bitcoin will be worth about $1 million, is what most experts say. So if that's the case, if you can divide it down to 8 digits, you can get it down to where 0.00000, 7 zeros and a 1, it would be worth about a penny. That's called 1 Satoshi. So even though it's $1 million value, right, if I'm doing my math right, I think 1 Satoshi, which is the smallest portion of a Bitcoin that you can send somebody, that you can divide it down to, would be worth a penny. So the guy that came up with this whole idea, and we don't know who it is, nobody knows who it is, was really a genius, because he figured all that out. He figured out, okay, this is the max value that Bitcoin will probably achieve once it's fully adopted, $1 million. And if that's the case, how many digits does it have to be divisible down to make it a useful currency? So as long as you can get it down to about a penny, right, that's good enough, right? So that's why he did the 8 digits. So it's really, there's a lot, you can tell this guy put a lot of thought into this thing. Let's see. Man, a lot of comments coming in here. What were Rolex prices like during the 08-09 recession? I don't remember. I really don't. A GS you buy because you know what it is, not to show off. Then that's why you should buy any watch. You should buy a watch to wear and use, I think. Just like any piece of gear, you're buying it to wear and use. And we're going to talk about gear and equipment and all this kind of stuff, because I think it's important. Tried to watch Archie 2 days ago for the first and only time. He's totally off the rails. If you like to hear the F-bomb constantly, it's a show for you. Can only take it for about 5 minutes. I hear you. He's funny, though. That was a great show with Steve at Little Treasury. He's going to be doing some more shows, so stay tuned. It's probably going to be a couple weeks, but he's going to start a regular weekly show. At what age did you get your first luxury watch? And do you think there was a negative stigma attached to wearing one in the work environment, not with clients, coworkers, and managers? Okay, we'll talk about that. That's a very good question. Shall we get Archie Luxury to send you a link to his show in 30 minutes? If he wants me in, have him send an email. He knows how to get in touch with me. It's my name at gmail.com, CraigShipp@gmail.com. Extreme low, you could buy a Kermit for about $5,500 to $6,000 from the AD. You could also get pre-owned. Okay, there you go. You got some information on what it was like during the recession. 36 mil Datejust, can't go wrong. I agree. Craig needs to go on Archie's live stream. Okay, people unloaded a ton of watches around 2009 to 2011. Okay, retail prices were also much lower in 2008 anyway. Urban gentry is doomed. So in other words, you would buy a Grand Seiko with Satoshis. There you go. How much did Rolex prices drop compared to just before the recession? Okay, good info in the chat. Craig, would you like to take a personal tour of the Grand Seiko factory? I was offered a tour, actually. I just can't take the time right now, but yes, when I get to the point where I can take some time off and go, I will. I'd like to know more about Rolex stigma as well. Okay. Never wear a better watch than your boss. If your boss isn't wearing a gold watch, don't even think of showing up with one. Okay, so I'm going to comment on this. This is fun. Now, your mileage may vary, but I'll tell you what my situation was. I got my first, I guess you could call it, real job when I was 18. I was selling cars at Wheaton Dodge City in Wheaton, Maryland, working for Johnny Fitzgerald and his group. Actually, it was John Darvish, and then he left and bought the Chrysler dealership up the street, and then Jack Fitzgerald and Johnny was running the place. Well, Johnny was not really running the place. Harry Walker was actually general sales manager, but was owned by the folks that have Fitz Mall now, the big chain of dealerships in the area. But anyway, to make a long story short, got a job there. And actually, my mom bought me some clothes at like J.C. Penney, some really ugly clothes to wear as a car salesman, and really cheap, junky clothes. And so I didn't have anything else to wear, so I wore that. And of course, the other salesmen there weren't kind, and it actually got to the point where I was there for like a week or so, and the son of the owner, Johnny Fitzgerald, actually took me to Raleigh's Menswear, a fine clothier, and got me a Washington Shoppers Plate. At the time, was a credit card that you could use at different stores, including Raleigh's. And I got my first decent suit at Raleigh's, one suit. And so I wore that, and I did really well selling cars. I was making really good money, so I just bought a second suit. Bought some nice shoes. Kept improving my wardrobe because I was convinced that if I dressed real well that I would sell more cars, and I think I did sell more cars because of that. Then I was about 19. I'd been there like a year, and I bought the steel Datejust with an engine turned bezel, new, at Black Star and Frost Jewelers and White Flint Mall. White Flint Mall is no longer around. It's been leveled, and I don't know about Black Star and Frost Jewelers if they're around. But anyway, I bought that for $560 new. And so then I wore that for like a year. I think I was about 20 years old. And I bought a used Date 8, 1803, with the conventional clasp bracelet. Had a lot of stretch in the bracelet. And I'm going by memory now. I think I paid around $1,800 for that watch. And I loved it. I wore it, and I was, again, still selling cars. And then I went to another dealership, the Chevrolet dealership, which was actually next door. And then I went to Capital Porsche Audi and sold Porsches. And I wore that watch. And then I actually bought a white gold Date 8, brand new, that had been at a jeweler for like a couple of years. They couldn't sell it. And it was still at the sticker price from 2 years prior. And then I got a big discount on it, paid cash. And I actually ended up selling that white gold Date 8 to the owner of Capital Porsche Audi. When it went belly up and bankrupt, he had some cash, and he bought the white gold Date 8 from me. And then I bought another Date 8. And then somewhere in there, I started buying sport watches. I ended up doing a sport watch and Date 8 rotation. Then from then on, for 40 years, I had Date 8s and a sport watch. And nobody, the whole time, nobody ever said anything negative about me wearing a Rolex. Because I was dressed really nice. I had the whole package going, right? I had a nice suit, nice shirts, nice shoes, nice everything, right? And so it just went along with the program. And I think it benefited me over the years to be well-dressed and to have an expensive watch on my wrist. I think it helped me close deals. I think it just helps. And anybody that says that it doesn't, I think they're full of you know what. So, my brother worked for Fitzgerald for several years. Had to go to the ones in Maryland and Florida for a number of years, but he said he was treated like garbage and went into business for himself. Yeah, the Fitzgerald organization, if you do well and you become what's called a TO man, where they turn over, the way they worked was the salesman greeted the customer and went through the whole procedure: greet, show, settle, close. They have a whole procedure you go through. If that salesman couldn't get the job done, couldn't get them in the closing booth and couldn't close them, the customer was then turned over, that's why they call it a TO man, turned over to a salesman that was pretty well established, that was ranked to be a TO man. And then that TO man would go in and try to settle down the customer and get the deal closed. And if he could do that, he would get half the deal. Bam, right off the top, half the deal. So I quickly became a TO man. So I was getting, my own deals where I was selling the whole deal, and then I was getting a bunch of split deals, half deals. And so you could do pretty well if you were at that level. But if you were just at the salesman level, there was a lot of turnover. They would hire anybody, and then hopefully that person would sell their friends and family and all that before they would give up and blow out and all, and then they'd hire somebody else, right? There was a lot of turnover, but if you were at the TO level, you could do pretty good. But I didn't stay there long. I moved on to other more high-ticket items. Square-toed shoes. I didn't wear square-toed shoes. Let's see here. Never wear a better watch than your boss. Okay, we talked about that. Okay. We talked about that. There are rumors that at least one GMT. Okay, talking about the rumor mill of Rolexes. I would say new sub with 32, 35 is coming 2020, 2021. Would you buy your son a Patek? I don't think you should spoil kids. I think you should let them work. You should give them tools necessary for them to be productive and support them. And as far as, the old, give them the fishing pole, don't give them the fish. Teach them how to make big money so that they can go buy what they want. Most kids these days, I doubt they'd want a Patek. So there's that. Craig, is one watch per brand a failed experiment? I'm not sure what that means. I would buy the watch you want, folks, and buy one you're going to wear and use that's going to benefit you. Here's the thing. If you buy gear like these cameras that I'm using right now, there's a term I like to use. It's called digital rot. You buy this gear, and whether you use it or not, it will become obsolete, or it will otherwise deteriorate over time. A computer's a perfect example. You can use your computer every day to create videos and be creative and so on, or you can use it like once a month. Either way, in 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's going to be obsolete. You're going to buy another one. So you might as well use the heck out of that piece of gear, is my point. Get your money's worth out of it. Same thing with clothing. Same thing with a watch. Use the heck out of it. Get in front of as many people as possible. Do deals. Leverage what you have. Leverage the equipment and the gear that you have and the intellect that you have to make money. Okay? That's what it's all about. Buying stuff and collecting it and setting it off to the side just so you can say you have it and you're not using it, it's really of little benefit to you. You're better off just take that money and invest it somewhere, right? But if you're buying gear or equipment or watches, use the heck out of them. Okay? Car salesmen make enough so early to buy a white gold day-date. How much were the damn commissions? I remember one month, I was only working there a couple months, and I'll never forget they had a bonus program on the 1978 Dodge Challenger, which is actually made by Mitsubishi. It was a little Mitsubishi thing, but I think they called it the Dodge. Is it? Yeah, Challenger. Yeah, Challenger. So anyway, they had a bonus program on those cars, and you quickly got up to a $250 bonus on each car that you sold. And so I sold a bunch of cars that month. I made $5,600 that month. And I thought, oh my God, this is all the money in the world. It was like 1978. That was pretty good money, and certainly enough money to buy a couple of gold Rolexes at that time frame, used. So yeah, I was making really good money. If you're a good salesman, if you can close deals today, right now, you can make really good money. Salesmen are generally very high paid if they're good, if you can close deals. I have openings right now for salesmen that can close deals where you'll be making six figures. Okay? But they're rare. Most people want to sit home, watch TV, and don't want to go out and make things happen. Let's see. Do you ever wear that day? I don't have a day date right now. I sold my last day date. Let's see here. The green crystal is really unique. It's the only watch that has it. I think it looks great with the blue dial. Okay, ship. Would you buy, or we already got on that one, Patek. I got really sick and was held back a year. Okay. Is it me, or does that suit jacket look too big on you, Craig, today? A lot of my suit jackets are a little bit big. I'm not as big in the chest as I used to be. I'm not doing as many push-ups. I'm 61 years old, so I can only push myself so hard. So some of my suits are size 42. I don't know if this is a 42 or a 41. This might be a 42. I should probably be wearing about a 41 now. And so, yeah, it's a little bit big, but I mean, I can still wear it. It doesn't bother me. I mean, yeah, and if people worry about that, then so be it. I don't have any clients saying, hey, your suit's too big, I'm not going to do business with you. And I'm certainly not going to get rid of the suits. I mean, and I'm certainly not going to buy all new suits. So there's that. Some of them fit better than others, but yeah, most of them are a little bit loose in the chest area and the shoulder area, just because I'm not doing as many push-ups. I'm trying to do more again. I just actually started doing them again, but it was bothering my back when I was doing. I'm still doing curls. I still do a lot of arm stuff. My arms are doing fine, but I used to do 3 sets of 100 push-ups every day almost, or every other day. I can't do that anymore. I can't do 100 straight without it hurting my back. So I'm trying to get back into doing them again, but I don't want to push myself too hard to where, you mess up your back. It's really a pain, literally. So yeah, some of my suits are a little bit too big these days in the shoulders and the chest area. How did you feel to have nice suits in your own Rolex in your late teens? It was great. I mean, when we went out, I mean, we had brand new cars because, we had demonstrators. We had brand new cars, so we went out to the clubs and all. We were dressed nice, and women love that, man. They love it when you're well dressed. They think you might have something going for you. All these people dress like bums these days. I mean, if you dress halfway decent, I mean, you're going to be rolling, you know, because most everybody else are dressed like bums. If you dress decent and, like you say, have a nice watch and everything, a nice car, I mean, they're going to think you're something. The bar has been lowered so much, right? Just like the regular sub, the current 8550 is the most expensive it's never been. Okay, imagine it was relatively cheaper, but so were salaries as well. What is your average yearly income, if you don't mind sharing, straight from your business and not investments? Yeah, I'd rather not talk about that sort of thing publicly in case the IRS is listening. My biggest fear is the IRS, okay? I'm broke. I don't have any money at all. And I certainly don't have any Bitcoin at all, and all these watches are fakes, by the way. They're all fakes. And this backdrop behind me, it's all just a mural. It's a painting. It's not real. You can't actually sit on those couches. So there's that. Yeah. Archie's kid will probably trade his Patek for video games. And they have no idea about the value. Purchasing power was much better. The dollar was really strong back then. The problem is that salaries and wages have stagnated, and people are nearly making the same they did. Well, if you're in the wrong business, they've stagnated. But if you're doing the right thing, if you're out there moving and shaking and making things happen, incomes are higher than ever. I mean, there are more millionaires in this country than ever before. So here's the deal. You got to decide today, do I want to be exceptional? And do I want to make big bucks? And you got to get yourself on the path to do that, because there's all the broke people, that's the majority, and then there's the people that are doing really well. You got to decide which group you want to be in, because it's up to you. It's your decision. And I put a link in the show notes here to CraigShipp.com/downloads. There's a lot of inspirational stuff on there. Take a look through all that and decide today that you want to be in the higher echelon, that you want to be raking in the cash, because there are tons of opportunities right now to make a ton of money. If you're not, then you've got to rethink your career path. Let's see. And prices keep going up. They never stay the same regardless if people make more or not. So you got to make a lot of money. That's the answer. Have three good sources of income, and then buy whatever you want. That's a good point. You agree? Still very impressive accomplishment. Absolutely. Why did you choose a silver dial on your date? I liked the one that I bought. If you're talking about the most recent one I bought new in the year 2000, I really liked it, and my eyes I didn't have to wear reading glasses then, and I could read it very easily in all light. It's a very attractive watch. The only thing I have against it now is I can't read it well without my reading glasses on. Like right now, I can read this watch. This watch has pretty good contrast between the gold hands. I can see it's like about 6:13 p.m. But the date, not so much. I'd have trouble reading it. This one has actually more contrast between the hands, and this has the ivory color dial. So if I bought one today, I'd probably buy the black dial with the loomed hands. Would probably be the one that I would buy. It's a Gitman Brothers shirt. It's made in the United States of America. Gitman Brothers. And I have on my Flickr photo thing, I have photos of all the different brands that you can get that are high-end, that are made in the U.S. or made in England, or, you know, the stuff that you should look for. let's see. Yeah, and the Gitman Brothers shirt, this one was made in Pennsylvania. Is Clive looking to buy a Patek to one-up Archibald? I think if he bought a Date 840, he'd one-up him right there. What first Rolex can you recommend under 10,000 for salesmen with casual and suit dress code? Well, the first watch I bought was a Datejust, so there you go. Great life advice, Craig. Well, thank you, Craig. The suave salesman is trying to sell you his GS Diver and his Bitcoin to get a Rolex. I'm actually not selling any of my Bitcoin. It's not for sale. And actually, I'm not selling the Diver anymore either. I decided not to do that because I don't think I can go back to the Rolex. I was thinking about getting a Date 840, but I just don't think I can go back. I really like these two. I like this one really a lot. I mean, I've really fallen in love with this watch. It's just when you're driving down the road, you know, and you got this puppy on. I mean, it's just the lights hitting it. It's just cool. It was easier to buy a Rolex in the late 90s. Bought my first Rolex and it was not crazy price like now. Mine was 16 grand in the early 2000. So they weren't cheap. That was a lot of money then. Where is Chip wrong? Hey, good question. Chip is funny. What did you sell the gold Date 8 for? I don't recall seeing a video about you selling it. I didn't do a video about it because I sold it to a friend, and I'd really rather not say what he paid for it. But I'll put it this way: it was around $15,000, and the only reason that he paid that much for it is because it was a one-owner, full box and papers. And it's worth paying a premium if you can get a watch that you know you're buying from the original owner with full box and papers. And I'm not talking about buying from somebody who says they got it from the original owner. I'm talking about buying it from the actual person that bought it, whose name is on the paperwork and all that. That's what you want if you're buying a used Rolex, in my opinion. And it's worth paying a premium to get that, because then you know exactly what you're getting. Not selling the Grand Seiko now. Yeah, no, I'm not selling it. Easier to take in than let out a suit. Actually, it's almost impossible to take them in the shoulders, in the shoulder area. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, you'd pay a tailor a bunch of money to do that. And I don't mind it. I can put up with this little extra room. It actually is more comfortable, to tell you the truth, to have a little extra room. So no, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of money to have the suit cut up and taken in, especially since I'm starting to do some more push-ups. I might get a little bit of my bulk back. What do you think? Just got here and I should buy Bitcoin or Rolex. Also heard Tudor is a good investment. There you go. Don't worry, Craig. You look sharp for your age. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Three kinds of people: those that watch things happen, those that make things happen, and those people that say what happened. Unfortunately, you have too many of the first and third kind. Craig, you're exactly right. I noticed many more people who are dressed up. Same with myself. Today, I was in Kohl's and two girls were staring, and that never happened when I have a t-shirt and shorts on. There you go. You know, they want their nest to be secure. They want somebody that's going to be able to provide for them and keep them safe and so on and so forth. This is just natural. This is the way they are. They can act like that's not important to them, but they're lying, okay? They want security. And if they think that you're secure and that you're not a flake, then yeah, that's good. Yoga has proven an excellent complement to strict training for this over 50 fella. Keeps the joints and back feeling good. I got to start looking into yoga. I got a friend that teaches that. She's good. I might talk to her about it. And I buy my clothes on eBay. See, IRS, I'm broke. Well, there you go. There's some good deals. You got to really watch, and but yeah, you can get some good deals. I'll tell you, I've been really concerned lately. Like mentioned this about some of the brands. I've been really concerned lately that they're cheapening up everything. Like this is a heart. I think this is a Hart Schafter Marks. Let me see. Yeah, this is a Hart Schafter Marks, and this is probably maybe 10 years old, and this one is not as high quality as some of the Hart Schafter Marks suits I have that are like 20 years old. Over time, they've gone downhill and cheapened up their brands. I can't find a tag inside this one, so I don't know where this was made. I think this was made in the USA because it's like 10 years old, so I'm pretty sure it was still made in the USA. But now they're starting to make, Hart Schafter Mark is starting to make some of their suits, like in Mexico and other places. Burberry has whored out their brand. Polo has totally whored out their brand. Burberry, to some extent, has whored out their brand. A lot of the brands we used to buy that we were comfortable we were getting quality is not the case anymore. I think I mentioned the other day, Oxford is one of the last ones that are absolutely made in the USA with a lot of hand work in the suit, a lot of hand stitching. Oxford, that's Oxxford. So if you can find an Oxford suit that you like on eBay, now you're going to pay more for that than a Hart Schafter Marks or H. Freeman or some of these other brands. You're going to pay more even used because people know what Oxford is. But you can still probably buy a suit for $100 that is like a $4,000 suit. So, it is what it is. I'm just talking about the average person. Of course, we have more multimillionaires and billionaires than ever. Same in Europe and China, all over the world, really. Well, that's right. That's right. So time to get your part of the pie. Time to get out there and make things happen. What's your opinion on Allen Edmonds, alligator belts, good quality or no? If you get belts that are made in the USA or made in Italy, a lot of those are going to be pretty good. Yeah, I would look for ones that are made in USA or made in Italy. And I think you're going to be good. Trafalgar made some good belts back in the day. There's several brands you can look at, but look for the ones that are made in the USA. I think you're going to be ahead of the game, especially alligator ones. Good move. Make sure they're not cracked and all that. How did you... I've got some photos, by the way, of some alligator belts and all in that photo set I was telling you about on Flickr. So you can take a look at all those. Know a lot of the brand names and all. I always include all the brand names in my photos so that you'll know what to hunt for. How did you come from being a top car salesman to a Bitcoin promoter? I wouldn't really call myself a Bitcoin promoter. I've talked about it a little bit, and we talked about it in this show, but I don't really aggressively promote it because it's not really my business. And I think that a lot of my clients would take it the wrong way because they're not really familiar with what Bitcoin is. And so I think it would reflect negatively on me if I was actively promoting Bitcoin to my clients and to my friends and family and things like that. So I don't actively promote it. I mention it occasionally. I did mention back when it was like around $1,200. I did mention it, and I did say that I thought it would be a good idea for people to buy some. I mentioned it on my Facebook. And of course, if they'd have done that, they'd have done real well. But prior to that, I didn't mention it at all. I don't remember why I mentioned it when it hit 1,200. I don't remember why I did that, but I did. I've mentioned it a few times since then. but not really that actively or that aggressively, and I haven't pushed it on any of my clients. So, because for one thing, I'm not a financial advisor, and I don't want to be responsible if they buy some and then it goes down in value, right? And I'm not. There's nothing for me to get out of it. It's not like I would get a commission. You know, if I told them to buy it today and it went to $50,000, I guarantee you they wouldn't give me a cut, right? So if I told them to buy it today and it went down, of course they'd blame me for it going down. So I can't win, right? What would be in it for me? There's only downside, right? So yeah. Let's see. Craig, my conclusion on the Date 840 is it's too big. The 36 is perfect, classic, and perfect overall everyday style. I think you might be right. A steel date chest, but Clive has a pretty big wrist, so I think he might be able to pull off a Date 840. Steel date chest with a white or silver dial, even with the fluted bezel, is a perfect understated watch for work. I agree. I just purchased a Tissot PR100, great everyday silver dial, 39 millimeter. It comes with a solid link bracelet and movement, officially cost certified. They're pretty, sounds cool. Glad you're keeping the GS diver. Datechest 2 and Datechest 41 look out of proportion to me. 36 all. Oh, I agree 100% on the Datechest. 36, absolutely. If Grand Seiko made the same product, but it was made in China and of the same quality, would you still buy it? That's a really good question. I don't think they could pull it off. Because if you look at the videos about the factory there and the people that are working on those watches and the expertise and the time they're taking and all that, I don't know that you would find those people in China. I think that China is all about cranking things out and keeping costs down. I mean, maybe they could do it, but I think it would be tricky. Would I consider it? I don't know. I think I'll just keep the ones I have. They'll last me the rest of my life. So if it was my only choice, I don't know. Probably not. I'm not that enamored with things that are made in China. I've had bad experiences with some stuff made in China. And so, no, I would probably pass. It's probably what I would do there. Remember Hathaway shirts? Yeah, I don't know. Were Hathaways made in the U.S. even back in the day? I didn't buy Hathaway. Maybe a couple of my shirts were Hathaways, but I started buying Solka company shirts back in the day. We made trips to New York, and I bought Solka. And then I bought Church's shoes, also in New York. Of course, Burberry trench coats and outerwear. If I think about it, I'll put a link to all the clothes brands and all that. I'll put a link to those photos in the description on this video too, so you'll have them handy. Grand Seiko Spring Drive or 9F are much more accurate timekeepers than Rolex. Rolex is just a status watch, not a great watch, really. I think they still make a pretty good watch. I think, but you know, I'm really happy with the watches I have. But if I was going to buy one watch, I would be tempted to buy the Pepsi, the GMT Pepsi, if I could get one for list price. And the reason I'm saying that is it's only about 12 mils thick. And so push comes to shove, you could probably force that watch into a dress situation under a cuff, right? Whereas I can't really with this because it's 14 mils thick. So, but I've got the benefit of having both, of having the diver and this. So I've got both situations covered. But if I was only going to have one watch, I would be tempted to have like a Pepsi or maybe even a 36 mil day chest, or of course a 36 mil day date if I was only going to have one watch. But fortunately, I'm not in that situation. I have two, so I can make it work. Do you recommend a self-employed purchase dental insurance? Well, you're talking to somebody whose teeth are not that great. I don't have any cavities or anything, but I've got a lot of chipped teeth. I hate going to the dentist with a passion. I've only had about 4 cavities in my life. I have had one root canal. I had one tooth filled, and then later it broke. And then I had to have a root canal in that sucker, and I had to have a crown put on it. And that was a pain. I didn't like going through all that. So I hate going to the dentist. So I don't know. It depends on your teeth, I guess, and how bad they are as to whether or not something like that makes sense. For me, I wouldn't do it because I don't like to go, and so whoever's paying for it, I don't want to go. Let's see. How many push-ups can you do in a row, Craig? Well, I could probably push it and do 50 right now, but I might hurt my back. I used to do 3 sets of 100, but like I say, it got to the point where it was starting to bother my lower back. I don't know if I was curving my back too much or whatever, but I'm starting to do them again slowly, like I did 25 yesterday. I'm going to slowly work my way up. I always do 3 sets of whatever I do. Like I do arm curls. I do 25-pound dumbbells or whatever you call them. And I do 3 sets of 40. So I do, 40 with each arm. I do 1 set of 40 reps, and then I rest a couple minutes, and I do another set of 40, and then I rest a couple minutes, I stretch and stuff, and then I do another set of 40. So that's what I do for arms. And I have another, like a pole with a cord on it, paracord, that's going down to a 1-gallon jug of like antifreeze, just for weight, and I crank that with my wrists like that. I crank it up so the cord, winds around the handle, and I crank it all the way up, and then I let it all the way down, and I do 3 sets of that, because that's very good for your forearms and your grip. That's very good for tennis. It's like a tennis exercise. And also if you have to strangle somebody. I'm in the same dilemma. Dental service costs a lot of money, and so does going to the dentist. I added both up, and they came out about the same according to premiums. Yeah, I don't. I'll tell you the last time. I'll tell you what I did when I got the crown and all that. I went. They had a brand new dental school down in Sarasota, actually in Bradenton, and right next to Sarasota, and state of the art, beautiful facility. I went there, and they had some great students there, and they did the. Actually went to the dentist that was the instructor. I actually went to his office for the actual root canal itself, but they did the crown and all that, the temporary crown and all that stuff at the dental school, and it cost a fraction of what it would normally cost, and they really took their time and really did a great job. So dental school, if there's a good one in your area, I highly recommend doing that. Let's see. Rolex keeps great time. Both my 18238 and are within. Plus, the rest of them overnight and crown. Yeah, but once you get a Grand Seiko, either Spring Drive or 9F, you're like, oh my God. They're so accurate. You just can't go back to a Rolex. It's just very difficult. Evening all. They're coming from China, I think. Do you think Bitcoin will go lower? Not sure when to buy more. I think it might go down to $1,250. That's my number that I've decided that I'm going to buy a boatload of it if it hits that number. $1,250. That's my back the truck up and Katie bar the door, buy it up number. If it doesn't go down to there, I'm good with what I have. Do I know what it's going to do? I have no idea. I don't think anybody does. I just know that long term, I think it's a good bet. And I'm talking hold it till at least 2024. That's 2 more halvings. We didn't talk about this. The halving happens every 4 years, just like there's a presidential election every 4 years. Well, every 4 years, there's a Bitcoin halving. The next one is in 2020. And what I mean by that is there's a block reward every time the miners do a block on the blockchain. That they get a reward for doing that block in Bitcoin. They're paid in Bitcoin. And the rate that they get paid every 4 years is cut in half. So that's why it's a deflationary currency. The supply is cut in half, the new Bitcoin that are produced, every 4 years. So it's going to be cut in half again in 2020, and then in 2024 it's going to be cut in half again. And usually when there's a halving year, usually prior to that halving, the value runs up quite a bit. Historically, that's what's happened. So, pretty cool stuff, if you ask me. Let's see. Because they don't even make their standard. I'm worried about you, Craig. You're so gaunt. I mean, I don't eat much. I exercise a fair amount. I weigh about the same now as I weighed 20 years ago. I've only lost some bulk in here. And I've gained a little bit of bulk around the waist, not much. I can still wear pretty much all my pants and, you know, all the stuff. Some of the pants are a little tighter than they used to be. But that's what happens when you get older. The sands shift a little bit, right? Things don't stay exactly where they were. But I'm doing the best I can. But actually being thin, believe it or not, is healthier than being fat. So if you have to be a little on the thin side, it's better to do that than to be a little bit on the fat side, just from a standpoint of you know, your overall health. That's kind of a fact. So, but I'm glad you're worried about me. I've never heard of Bitcoin until 2 years ago. I wish I knew about it 10 years ago. Now it is very high risk item to buy, very unpredictable. Hey, Scott, it always was. Nothing's changed. It's gone up and down like a roller coaster since day one. It doesn't matter. It's always been high risk. It probably will be for quite a while. When you say high risk, it'll be very volatile, right? But here's the thing. If you buy it and you hold on long enough, you're probably going to be okay. It's the people that panic and sell, you know, when it goes down, like people that are selling right now that bought it when it was like 18 grand. I mean, they're getting punished. They're getting destroyed, right? I mean, why would you do that? I mean, why would you buy it for 18 grand and then sell it now? I mean, my God, people, you know, hold on, have a strong hand. But people that went into debt and bought it and really couldn't afford to buy it in the first place and are being forced to sell it now because they got to pay off their debts and all, I mean, that was just a bad move. You should buy Bitcoin for the long haul, and you should buy Bitcoin with money that you don't need, that you can afford to put on the sidelines for a while. You shouldn't buy it as a 6-month investment. That's, you know, absolutely not a good idea. But, you know, when you get in, yeah, it would have been great to have got in 5 years ago, right? But you can't time travel. Bitcoin has a very good track record each year. If you look at the charts, the yearly low, the low for the year, okay, every year just about has gone up. There have been a couple years where it was kind of like level. I think 1 year it went down. But for the most part, in the last 10 years, the low of the year has been higher than the previous low of the previous year. So its 10-year track record is very good long term from a standpoint of going up. That could change. I mean, it could go to zero, I guess. I don't think so. I don't think so. But I guess anything could happen. But I don't know about this being a worse time to buy. I think this is a better time to buy because it's got a 10-year track record now. I didn't have a 10-year track record before. Barber is a good quality brand. They used to be, yeah. They used to have some good. So I don't know if they still do anymore, but they might. I think they were made in England, right? Englanders. It's the evolution of money. Risky is dollar and fiat currencies. I think that's a good point. Don't buy Bitcoin unless you can afford to lose money. Well, don't sell it at a loss and you won't lose money. I mean, if you buy it right now for $3,500, whatever it is, and it goes down to $2,000 and you sell it, absolutely you're going to lose money. But don't do that. Hold on to it. Give it some time. You know? The people that bought it for 18 grand and are selling now, how are they going to feel 2 years from now if it's 50 grand? They're going to be like, maybe I should have waited 2 years. Long-term thinking, folks. Don't be impulsive, as the Bitcoin Meister says. Don't be impulsive. That's going to cost you a lot of money. TGVS videos, something about copyright. I'm not sure what that means. Not sure if you mean Urban Gentry. I've not seen a video of his in over a month. Know if he still makes videos. Think he's been banned for a while. GGV sucks. He peddles too much cheap crap like squall to his pigeons. Has a wide range of Timex to AP, but looks like he has 100 watches. Okay. Why does everyone think yellow gold is an old man's watch color? Because everybody's kind of stupid. A lot of people are stupid, okay? Remember that. Probably 99% of the people out there are stupid. So don't follow the 99%. Follow the 1%. Okay? Just think about that a little bit. China has a huge pirate problem of fake watches, bootleg videos, and as far as I know, no one is doing anything about it. Well, what can they do? Listen, there's nothing wrong with cheap watches, but it's deceptive to act like there's something they're not. Some of TGV's fans will end up with 10 cheap watches. Here's the thing. Anybody that's buying 10 watches of anything should really rethink their situation. Why on earth do you need more than, let's say, 2, maybe 3 watches? I'd like to hear a legitimate argument for having more than 2, let's say 3 watches, max. I don't think you can make one. I think it's just stupid to have a whole bunch of, especially expensive watches, just sitting around. Sitting around. What the hell's the benefit of that? If somebody can explain it to me in a way that makes sense, I think you're good. Okay. I'm addicted to 9F. 9F is amazing. Modern Rolex is superb. Yes, they're status symbols and lots of obnoxious people buy them, but make no mistake, they didn't get to where they are by making crap. Yeah, but they're kind of overpriced now for what you get, I think. I think you're getting a much better value with GS. You're getting a better watch for less money, so I think there are better options out there. Craig, you should sell the Prius and buy a new 911. Live it up. I love my Prius. My Prius is fantastic. I think you can get a Pepsi for MSRP now or soon. My AD said she's going to call me when she gets a Pepsi. So I'll let you know if she gets a Pepsi. I might snatch it up. But she said that she was going to call me, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Scott SJ, it's just not going to happen. They will eventually be available pre-owned for retail or 1,000 or 2 over retail, but not as long as Rolex controls supply like this. You just wait till the market crashes. You're going to see them all over the place. A lot of these people that are speculators are going to get caught holding the bag. They're controlling the Pepsi just like Daytonas and the Blue Sky Dweller even before the shortage. Yeah, well, you just wait. Just wait until the market adjusts. All things are going to change. Daytonas are kind of rare and go for way over MSRP, and that's going to change too with the Daytonas because they're kind of not a very practical watch. It's not a good move to buy a Daytona, folks. Let's see the Stunner Diver. There you go. There's the Stunner Diver. The problem is that as long as there are people out there buying them for 16 to 18 grand, these will keep going to resellers. And again, that's not going to last that much longer. I give it 6 months max, and this whole thing's going to come tumbling down. Crown and root canal, 3 grand. I had the tooth pulled, being a back tooth. I got it done for around 1,000 at the school, and they did a fantastic job. It's let's see. It's right back in here. Can you see it right there? Right there. I think they did a great job. Okay. Let's see here. It's artificial scarcity, just like the Nautilus. They can make much more, but it is how they keep strong demand. Yeah, but this ebbs and flows. This ebbs and flows, folks. Let's see. What do you think about going into the medical field, especially a career in anesthesiology? Absolutely. Everybody's getting older. Everybody's getting decrepit. They all need medical care, nurses, all that kind of stuff. Hello, Craig from Frederick County. What is your opinion about purchasing a Rolex from Colonial Jewelers? I like the folks at Colonial. Tell them that I sent you, and I think they'll work out a deal for you. I think they'll work with you. Talk to Sarah there and see what she says. She's going to call me when she gets a Pepsi, so don't take the Pepsi. Same with massage therapists. I have benefits for so much. A year after that, I go to the massage therapy school. Okay, good move. Hermes also does it with the popular, okay. Good examples with those 2 car brands. Hold on to them long enough. They can go for millions. Well, that's very risky business too. Medical field is great. You get to actually help people and make a great living. It's a very satisfying career. Well, there you go. Treat yourself to a prime rib dinner. Whoa, there you go. That's an idea. With many special models, they actually require you have several cars from them before. There you go. HODL all Bitcoins. Hold on for dear life. Where's my Clivers? BTC will stay around 3,500 to 4,000 for the foreseeable future until we get some big news. And how do you know that? How do you know that? And what do you mean by foreseeable future? Craig, which shave soap do you use? Let me go grab it. You look at the Stunner for a minute. Let's see here. So, this is what I'm shaving with right now. This is world famous shave soap, Colonel Conk products, C-O-N-K products. Colonel, C-O-L period, Conk, C-O-N-K products. This is almond. I got a package that has several different flavors or whatever, and I've been using the almond one. Works pretty good. Works pretty good. Let's see what else here. I'm a police officer in Florida. Do you think it's stupid for me to wear my 36 millimeter 18 karat gold date 8 to work every day? I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably wear a sport watch in that situation. But I mean, you could do it. You can do it. But I don't know. That's a good question. There's nothing like having a gold watch on your wrist with a nice tan in the summer. Yeah, the problem with getting the tan in the summer is you start getting sunspots and things and your skin. I've had a couple of things I had to have taken off my face, you know, not melanoma, but, you know, whatever the non-malignant type of skin cancer little thingies. I had one taken off my ear. You got to watch that sun stuff as you get older. It's not a good idea. You pay the price for having that suntan. The dial variations, Craig, the more watches you have, the more styles you see. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things you can spend your money on more effectively than having a whole bunch of watches. Three watch collection all the way. Yep, 3 most, diver, dress watch, maybe a chronograph. Yeah, I don't need the chronograph, but yeah, I hear you. Many people that get excited when learning about watch collecting, myself included. I was one of the individuals that bought 5 to 8 watches and ended up downsizing to 3. Good move, Scott. Does your name mean son of the captain in Turkish? That's for John. 3 is better because you actually get to spend time with them. Absolutely. If you're not wearing them, I don't see any reason to have them. If there's no risk of damaging it, do what makes you happy. Oh, I wouldn't worry about damaging it. I just don't know if a date 8 is a good watch for policemen to wear in the line of duty. That might be, you know, some people might question that because, I mean, they might think you're on the take or something like that. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm usually, hey, wear it no matter what, right? But that's a kind of a tough one there. Because when you're in a position of working for the government and some kind of a public contact position where you're in a position of power, people could take that the wrong way. They certainly could. That maybe this guy's on the take or something, right? So I think I might back down a little bit from wearing the date 8 in that kind of a situation. In sales, what I was doing and all that, it helped to make it look like you're successful. People want to do business with people that are successful. And when you're in business, like I'm in business now, people want to do business with people that are successful. So dressing well, wearing a nice watch, nice shoes, all that kind of stuff, they like that. But if you're a government official and it looks like you might be on the take, that could be a problem, I think. Yeah. Just hate having it sit around my house for 5 days out of the week on my long week at work. I hear you. GS9F movement is a marvel, absolutely. I think the gold stunner, the stunner diver, and the Rolex Pepsi would make for an amazing 3-watch rotation. Well, there you go. Daytonas aren't practical, but they're incredibly popular. At the Australian Open, half of the players, coaches, I don't buy watches because of what other people buy or because what other people think are popular. I mean, I buy the right watch for me to have, to wear, and enjoy, and That's not the one. So no, I wouldn't buy it just because everybody else wants it. Matter of fact, that'd probably be a good reason not to buy it. Roger Federer has his Platona on. Newcomer, it's a white ceramic. Chris Everett has Rolls Gold. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Why have the thing if you're barely going to wear it? I also have one and love wearing that. Okay. You've never been sent a link to Archie's channel. You've been sent a link. So he sent me a link? I don't see it. No, no link, no email. So, Clive is on Archie's channel. There you go. At the Indiana University Dental School, you have to show you are in low income level to get a dental work here. Well, tell them you don't have any money. Tell them you're broke. They're not going to check. They didn't care at the one I went to. They were brand new. They just needed patients. They needed bodies in there. It was a brand new, beautiful facility. Yeah, they sponsor 3 of the Grand Slams. Okay, okay. If anyone needs no more than 10 watches, they should be institutionalized. Yeah, it could make. I just think there's other things they could spend the money on. Make some people think you're corrupt. I hadn't thought of that. That is also why many presidents tend to wear cheap watches while they're in office. Nowadays, maybe, yeah. Archie link. Okay, I did get a link for Archie's channel. So I'm going to have to terminate. If I'm going to go in there, I'm going to have to terminate this broadcast. Check all the links in the description. Okay, please do that. And I will see you over on Archie's show. Let them know in the chat that I'm headed over there. And let's see if I can stop this puppy. Got to get back into my app here. And let them know I'm headed over. Let's see here. Stop. Complete.